All right, this is the next victim to get molested. This is the fuel flow transducer that measures the fuel flow. It's supposed to be very good and very accurate. We actually have one in an Archer and it seems to work quite well. Anyway, after reading all the instructions, I am surprised that more people don't put it right after the electric fuel pump in there. I know people say that you should have it after the last fuel pump, but right here it says you can mount it between the auxiliary electric boost pump and the engine's mechanical fuel pump. And kind of going round and round, I basically was just watching what everybody else is doing, and most people mount it up high on the firewall, but in here somewhere it says not to mount, to have the fuel line go down after it exits that. So that's strike number one. Then there is a company that mounts it right up in here, but that violates 3 or 4 of the no-nos in there, which is 90 degrees going in or out of it. It's supposed to be a straight line within 6 inches. Mounting it directly to the engine for the vibration and plus the heat. So I opted against that, even though I think it looks very nice and neat. What I came up with is I'm gonna mount it like down here. So we do have the exhaust, but we have a lot of airflow going over it. It says if it does need to be mounted on the hot side of the engine, to just wrap it. So I have some of this insulation left over, I can wrap it in that. The idea is to have the fuel hose come, right now this is the RANS supplied one that I just kind of stuck on there, but have Tom at TS Flight Lines make me a hose that goes from here to there, and then another hose that goes from there to there. And I will use swooping L's like this, so that's gonna be, you know, my bad thing, but I see people using it all the time, so hopefully that won't be an issue. I think the 90s they're talking about are the steep 90s where you can see fuel turbulence, like, or fuel getting turbulent as it goes in. So I'm hoping that the swooping L's will be acceptable. It will be mounted straight, it will be mounted off the engine, it will be insulated for heat, and it will be mounted low so the fuel doesn't go up. I think it said something more than 4 inches, or go down more than 4 inches after it exits that. And the way I'm gonna go about it is I was toying with the idea of making like an extension off of this bracket to mount it, but then I realized I actually have some thicker aluminum, so I may actually just replace this bracket. And something, I know this is silly, this is like taking 2 steps back into early times of the firewall, but this is mounted crooked, not because my holes are crooked, but because the tangs are welded crooked on the cage. And it's always bothered me a little bit, but now that you don't really see it, I guess I could live with it. But while I'm making a new bracket, I'm going to simulate everything that's there and just have this come out further with 2 mounting holes for the fuel flow transducer. And I will also offset this hole a little lower and that hole a little higher so I can straighten this damn bracket and sleep good at night. Let's get to it. The new and improved bracket. So it's basically the same as that. The only difference being, I don't know if you can tell, but I skewed these holes a little bit. So now hopefully it'll sit straight in the firewall. Added that onto it. These I'm going to use AN3 bolts, which are 3/16. These are like 1/4 inch holes or a little bit bigger. So I'm going to see if I can find some rubber gaskets to help further, isolate it for a vibration that can bolt into. So the bracket looks really good. I'm really excited of how straight it sits. But at the end of the day, or the end of the week, or the end of the month, it's a good template. Two things I messed up on. First of all, by integrating it into the bracket, it puts it just a little too low and it hits my fairing there and I can't get the nuts on. And also when I was working with this, thought crossed my mind, this is aircraft aluminum, that's Home Depot aluminum. Even though it's very rigid, I did a little deburring. This is more solid. Okay, so back on goes the crooked one, and I will go with my first plan of making a spacer that bolts onto this and just spaces it out. So anyway, it was fun. Take a picture of it and throw it away. Alright, here's the newer, simpler, better, more improved, but less sexy version. So utilize that, made a bracket 1 7/8 times 1 1/2. Bolt it on this way, clears the little cable up top. If need be, you can also put it on from the top. Since the holes in here are much bigger than the 3/16, so more like a 1/4 inch hole, took a little piece of pitot tubing, cut a couple of 1/4 inch spacers, and I just stretched them enough so they would fit, because they're really tight over the AN3 bolts. So I just stretched them a little bit so they slide over there. And I stuck one in each end. Maybe it'll help a little bit with vibration. If nothing else, it will center it. Come on, the other ones went in easy. It's your fault, camera. I'll get it in. Alright, got it installed. Those little spacers worked out great, nice and solid. Now that I'm looking at it, I think I may actually mount it on top. And yeah, I think I will. I'll leave that for tomorrow though. For now, good night. Alright, disregard my earlier comment about possible transducer locations, suggesting between the auxiliary electric boost pump and the engine's mechanical fuel pump. I'd made the comment about mounting it inside. Apparently this is for FC10 and AFP30 only, which are some kind of fuel computer, and I don't know why it really matters, but this one, so again, FT-60 strictly says must be installed downstream of the last fuel pump. So if you're building something like a RANS with this, then one direction, but then they also here say to put the fittings on not to exceed 25 foot-pounds. This one says 8 to 10 foot-pounds. Not sure why the difference is, but this is a special one because it actually has an outlet on this side and an outlet on that side too. So I think somebody needs to go over these instructions and rewrite them. It's confusing me, but on the bright side, I made a little piece of stainless steel that I had left over from, I don't know if you remember the cover I made for my internally operated heater valve, and that's going to be like a little heat shield. But before I put it all on, I'm going to take these and torque them somewhere between 25 foot-pounds and 10 foot-pounds, so maybe we'll pick like 15. I think that came out pretty cool. Got the little heat shield on here. That's mounted. I took the hose off the gasculator off just to kind of maybe give you an idea of what I'm visualizing. So this is the swooping or sweeping turn that goes in. This will be the T up top. So I'm gonna have Tom make me a line that has a straight AN6 fitting and a 90 AN6 fitting here and give him the dimensions. Then he can also make one that has AN6 on one side and then AN4, which is gonna go to the fuel pressure regulator up there. And yeah, let me show you the other side, hold on. All right, so this is the output side. So I'm gonna have him do a 90 swooping turn there. And then depending how this mixture bracket fits, I'm just gonna have it loop around and so a little bit shorter than this one and then do a 90 into there. With that being said, Tom sent me the link to his website on how to calculate and make the hoses. And I'm actually excited now. This was like a dreaded part. But you click on it and it shows you the difference between this style hose, the non-insulated hose, the stainless steel braided with a clear covering, or these ones, which I think are the coolest, the newest, and tells you what end you want. You click on it and every little adjustment that you make right on the website actually adjusts the price, so you know exactly what you're paying for it. So that's really kind of cool, because I thought it was going to be a lot of like back and forth, like, oh, from this side, from that side, and what have you, but this is pretty much idiot proof, so I might be able to handle it. So that's up next, basically ordering all the hoses. I got one into the fuel flow, one out of the fuel flow. I got one into the fuel pressure sensor, one for the oil pressure sensor, and one for the manifold pressure sensor. So probably gonna have a few $100 in hoses, but yeah. So I guess this will be the fuel flow transducer video. Maybe it'll be not so long. Good night. Here's the website I'm talking about. So it's Aircraft Specialties, you know, make your hoses. Then you basically pick the -6, and then if you're like me and you don't know what the difference is, you basically pick that, and then you can see that's like the old school hose with the thick fire sleeve. Integral fire sleeve is the one that I use, and then you can do, you know, the fittings, 45 versus straight, blah blah blah. So I'm curious on the 90 fitting, because I don't want them to be the same bend. So, oh, hose clocking, wow, look at that, 12. Okay, interesting. All right, cool. So anyway, yeah, and then my point is this: if you put in something, it gives you the price right there, which is kind of cool. All right, got some work ahead of me. Now, good night, and thank you for watching the video. Happy building, and remember, all this stuff is just me doing it. Not instructional. Don't sue me.